Atomic Fabrik. A game developer who you may have heard me talk about before has almost disappeared, but not because Steam took action against them. Late last year, I covered Atomic Fabrik for what I felt were some incredibly dishonest and shady practices, and their response seems to have been to hide their identity and association with their games. However, Atomic Fabrik didn't just swap to one fake identity, but to over 60. Oh, it's by Beam Bong Games. What other games have they? Oh, it's Atomic Fabrik. You actually click on it, it goes to Atomic Fabrik. But it's not Atomic Fabrik, guys. It's Beam Bong Games. After the fake Helldivers 2 and Palworld situation, I thought Steam would have learned a lesson and prevented scammers from doing this. Instead, the scammers were the ones who learned the lesson, which is that they can abuse this system, which Steam hasn't fixed, to avoid repercussions for their actions. You might be thinking, okay, but Atomic Fabrik doesn't have a huge impact on the Steam store, and that's a fair point. But while this is true for Atomic Fabrik on its own, Atomic Fabrik is not the only one doing this. And I'm making this video because we've learned more about how these individuals exploit the Steam store, largely thanks to work done by the Steam community, Sentinels of the Store. This video isn't about Steam being ruined or the sky falling. I just find it sad that honest devs who work hard on their games for years have to compete for visibility against a load of these bullshit games. And this is when these devs are giving a 30% cut of their sales to Steam. So is that revenue cut for Steam really justified? Either way, with all the new details that have come to light in the past year, let's discuss all of this from the start. First off, let me introduce you to Atomic Fabrik. My apologies in advance. See, most game developers have a process where they create a game, then publish that game to stores to sell it. Atomic Fabrik's MO skips the first part of that process. Atomic Fabrik downloads game templates that other people made from the Unity store, and then publishes those, usually with minimal to no modification. While he does sometimes publish his own games, that is usually the exception. And in my opinion, they're really not the best. In case you don't know what a game template is, it's usually a fully functional game that's meant to serve as the foundation for beginner game developers to build upon or learn from. It goes without saying that game templates are not meant to be purchased and then immediately resold on other platforms without modification. But that's exactly what's happening. Of course, the people getting these games are never told that the games aren't complete, meaning that in my opinion, this is an inherently dishonest and deceptive practice. Let me give you an example. I opened up an Atomic Fabrik game called Supreme Race on Highway, but the main menu showed a completely different title. It turns out this was a game template that anyone can purchase on the Unity store called Crashy Racing. Atomic Fabrik purchased this asset and then uploaded it to Steam without even bothering to change the title of the game to match the Steam store page. But why? Few, if any, would ever buy this game on Steam, especially not for $260 Canadian. In fact, that appears to be part of the scheme. After publishing these games to the Steam store, game developers purchase fake reviews, often just 10 of them because that's the minimum required to receive a positive review score. You might think, okay, but why purchase fake reviews if the game is so incomplete that it's just going to receive a ton of negative reviews anyway? That's because these devs use a trick to sell their game while preventing anyone from being able to affect the review score. The trick is that only purchases made through Steam can impact the review score. So if someone bought a key from a third-party website, they could drop all the negative reviews they wanted. The review score would never change. So these devs make the game super cheap, often by dropping the game's regional price to an extremely low amount. Then they ask fake reviewers within that region to buy the game through Steam and leave positive reviews. Then the dev bumps the price back up to an insane amount. Suddenly, no one can leave negative reviews for that game. The fake review score is protected by the absurd price. Sentinels of the store recently investigated a community dedicated to providing these fake reviews. Mellow Online and others uncovered a Russian website called OBZOR. To enter the site, you have to go through a difficult application process, demonstrating first of all that you're an authentic Russian individual, as well as submitting a phone number, email, telegram, and linking your Steam account. So they submitted an application using a fake Russian identity, and were able to get into the site. There, they found a list of orders where customers are instructed to purchase games through Steam and then provide fake positive reviews. In exchange, they're paid about the cost of the game plus a fraction of $1. But remember, the developers can temporarily reduce the price of the game using regional pricing, and these developers earn back most of what the users pay for the game anyway. In short, a developer can purchase fake reviews for their game for well under $1 each. Furthermore, the Sentinels of the store uncovered a list of OBZOR's rules. There's a few that I would like to bring to your attention. Rule number 1, a paid game must be purchased with money or Steam balance. It is prohibited to activate the game with a key or gift. Rule number 2, when writing a review, it is forbidden to check the game received for free checkbox. Rule number 5, the review should not contain the slightest hint that it was a paid review or that you did not play the game. I'll spare you the rest of them, but it goes without saying that the main purpose of these rules is to disguise fake reviews as genuine. Obviously, and it's meant to mislead customers. But I'll admit, OBZOR's application process to each order is pretty smart. Instead of disclosing the names of these games which are receiving fake reviews up front, you have to apply to each order, and only after that application is accepted are you shown the name of the game. The Sentinels found the names of 5 different games allegedly using this service, and were then immediately banned. But before they were banned, they noticed the order number of their tasks was nearly 7,000, which is our best evidence of how many fake reviews this site has supplied. However, as soon as these individuals were banned, the entire OBZOR website was also taken down. In other words, it seems OBZOR no longer exists. And I feel like if they're willing to just suddenly take the site down because a few people found out about it, this might not be the only site that they're running. Anyway, why is it such an issue that some random crappy games get fake reviews? But many also believe that reviews offer an advantage when it comes to the Steam algorithm. In other words, fake reviews mean more traffic for your game. For example, an author named Zukalos, writing for How to Market a Game, talks about how many developers note that the same day their game received 10 reviews, their store page suddenly received a burst of traffic. This is probably due to the link of 10 reviews getting your game onto the discovery queue. And this is part of the reason why, if you want to support indie devs that you like, don't forget to leave them positive reviews. This is also obviously a reason why these shady game devs are also purchasing positive reviews. It's an extremely inexpensive way to promote your game. These developers purchasing fake reviews are doing more than just making their game look good. When their games receive a spot in new and trending or in the discovery queue, it pushes honest devs further down. But anyway, let's get back to Atomic Fabrik. Many of his games have exactly 10 reviews, many of which are from the same people, many of which have played his games for similar amounts of time, many of which have provided a seemingly AI-generated review. In short, I believe it's quite likely Atomic Fabrik is making use of a service like OBZOR to purchase fake reviews for his games. This is something I suspected before I even found out about OBZOR. And I'm not trying to pick on Atomic Fabrik. There's plenty of other devs doing this, but Atomic Fabrik serves as a great example of how these devs can profit off of making these games. So let's talk about the different ways they make money, because everyone always seems to default to money laundering. And while that might be possible, there's plenty of other ways they seem to be making money. Let's start by talking about money-making method number 1, which I've spoken of previously. Random Steam key bundles, which are sold through key reselling websites such as G2A. Vendors on these sites gather keys for different games, package them together into a random key bundle, and then sell them to users. I wanted to see what kinds of games these bundles offered and bought a bundle of 5 keys. I received 4 Atomic Fabrik games. So how random are these bundles really? From anecdotal reports I've seen, some of the vendors are actually legit, but many others report similar experiences to mine. These vendors offer games with certain review scores, say 80% positive reviews or higher, as well as games of a certain value, say $30 or more. Of course, this is all the more incentive for devs to purchase fake reviews and then inflate the prices of their games. Obviously, when customers are told they'll get a $30 mostly positive game, they're not expecting a game template that's incomplete. Second way these devs profit is through Steam card farming websites, such as Games for Farm. On these websites, users can purchase Steam keys in bulk for extremely cheap. These keys are so cheap because devs can acquire up to 5,000 keys for their game, no questions asked, then sell them off by the thousands. Look at this bundle of 100 Steam keys as an example, which is like a gateway drug to the crippling addiction of leveling up your Steam account. Look, there's Mech Defender, Controlcraft, and Conflictcraft. Remember those games allegedly worked on by actual children? I personally believe Games for Farm is run by Atomic Fabrik. He has used the alias Games for Games on Steam. Games for Farm also sells several Atomic Fabrik titles, so you do the math. Anyway, sets of these Steam cards from games can be used to level up people's Steam accounts. It shouldn't be any surprise the admins of the Games for Farm Steam group are also running Steam level up bots. If you know anything about Steam cards, people use systems to farm the cards and then can trade the cards for other things. Items on the Steam marketplace can be traded for other items that can be more readily exchanged for real money. Think things like Counter-Strike skins, for example. And you might think they're only going to make pennies off of this, but actually a lot of, if not all of the process can be automated. So when you think about the thousands of keys they're able to farm from each game, that can potentially add up. Third method of making money, and possibly the funniest, is that sites such as Games for Farm also provide game keys to social media promotional services. This promotional service works by purchasing a ton of terrible Steam keys in bulk, then tells users of their site they'll get one of these awful keys in exchange for liking, following, wishlisting, subscribing, joining, and performing dozens of other menial tasks. At the end of the day, after toiling away for hours, you'll finally get your copy of an Atomic Fabrik game. And if you're ever wondering why so many of them are asking to promote Steam curators, well, I looked into that too. Most of these curators are fake copies of one another, which are clearly being mass-produced. The reason is that these curators exist so they can email game developers and beg them for keys. They flex their follower accounts, giving the impression they'll promote the dev's game to thousands of people, when in reality, they're just going to take the dev's game and sell it on a third-party site for profit. So if you're a game dev watching this, be careful who you send your keys to, because you don't want to support any of these scumbags. Fourth method is that these games can be used to exploit giveaway sites. These sites are supposed to be about the love for giving, about brightening someone's day with a gift of a video game. But instead, people's days are ruined when they receive a $200 Atomic Fabrik game. There are a number of these giveaway sites, but the most prominent I'm aware of is called Steam Gifts. On Steam Gifts, when users create a giveaway and send out copies of games, they earn a score for each copy they give away. It's called contributor value. As you earn contributor value, or CV, your account levels up. Unlike with Steam accounts, however, you actually get some meaningful benefits from leveling up. See, when users create Steam Gifts giveaways, they often cap them so that users below a certain CV level cannot participate. It's not meant to be mean to newcomers or exclude them, it's just because people want to give away games to others who are also giving away games, not just to people trying to mooch and get free stuff without contributing anything themselves. Now, contributor value is calculated using the price of the game on Steam. This means you can farm contributor value quite quickly, giving away games with high prices, such as Atomic Fabrik games. If you reach level 10 on Steam Gifts, that enables you to join any giveaway on the site. So you could theoretically spend a few dollars on games for farm and be eligible for the same benefit that other people spent thousands of dollars on. And you also just made the platform actively worse because someone opened up an Atomic Fabrik title expecting a complete game. It's unclear whether Atomic Fabrik is purposefully inflating their game prices for this purpose, but it's definitely something that has an effect on these giveaway communities. Fortunately, there are users on Steam Gifts actively working to get these games blacklisted so they don't offer any more points, because it sadly breaks the system for everyone involved. Unfortunately, Atomic Fabrik and other devs pump out these games so rapidly that Steam Gifts have had to blacklist hundreds of these games in the past year alone. People are just trying to have a nice time giving away games, but it has to be ruined. Fifth and last method of profiting that I'm aware of is simply selling the games on Steam, obviously. Now, you might say, but what about protecting the fake review score? Which is a great point. But consider this. The fake review score doesn't need to be protected after the keys are sold. After vendors have purchased the key and confirmed that the game has a high enough review score, it's totally fine if the review score plummets afterward. So why not take those $260 games, put a huge discount on them, and even create all kinds of different bundles to make them seem like a far better deal than they actually are. It only takes a few sales and Atomic Fabrik makes back the $100 fee to publish the game. When we're talking about Atomic Fabrik, I'd imagine few are willing to buy his games through Steam, but there are plenty of other developers who engage in practices similar to what we've spoken of throughout the video, who rely more so on Steam sales than Atomic Fabrik does. As you can see, there's a number of ways individuals can profit off filling the Steam store with minimal to zero effort games. And that's assuming they're not just laundering money. This demonstrates how many different ways people are taking advantage of Steam and making the store a worse place. It harms the visibility of legitimate products that honest devs might have spent years of their lives on, and they don't deserve to be put in the same list and categories as these shady developers, if you could even call them developers. Regardless, as we've mentioned, when these shady devs get called out for their actions, they can just fragment into a load of different identities, so it's that much harder to track them and hold them accountable. This should not happen. Anyway, I want to shout out Sentinels of their store for their investigation into OBZOR, as well as Obey the Fist for calling out Atomic Fabrik's habitual republishing of other people's assets, as well as Shattered Mind for uncovering all of Atomic Fabrik's 60+ different fake identities. Can we just ask Steam to stop letting scammers switch their identities to whatever they want? As much as I love Steam, I think the platform can and should be better, especially when they ask for such a significant cut of the revenue. Either way, thanks for watching.